Well, hello and welcome to Rajat TV. You're watching discussion today with me, Rajat Kain. Well, in this episode, we'll discuss the implications of WhatsApp's new policies on the privacy of a user. Well, we all know WhatsApp is one of the most popular messaging app and it has updated its privacy policy. We must have got all those screen grabs, or to say those notifications on the screen of the WhatsApp, both for Android as well as for the iOS versions, asking you to accept it, and users have until February of 8 to accept the new terms and condition. Now, the new policy has come into a lot of discussion. A lot of eyebrows have been raised upon it on the issue of how user data is impacted or is going to be impacted given its integration with another social media major, that is Facebook, which also happens to be the WhatsApp's parent company. Now, as there were a lot of questions, clarification on the issue also came from the WhatsApp, which said the privacy policy doesn't change the way WhatsApp treats personal chats. Well, in a statement, WhatsApp said, and I quote, "The update doesn't change WhatsApp's data sharing practices with Facebook and does not impact how people communicate privately with their friends and family. WhatsApp remains deeply committed to protecting people's privacy," unquote. Yet, there are apprehensions on the point of view of the privacy and how does it impact our data. Well, to discuss further on this issue, we're joined with two very important guests. We have Mr. Subimal Bhattacharjee. He is cyber technology expert. Well, many thanks for joining us, sir. And we are joined with Mr. Brijesh Singh. He is Super Cop. He is IGP, that is Inspector General of Police from Maharashtra Police. Well, many thanks for joining us, sir. Let me start with you, Mr. Bhattacharjee. To begin with, we either it's an Android version or the iOS, we all have got notification on the WhatsApp. Well, to elucidate further on this issue, could you just explain our viewers as to what these new policy means?
See, what has happened is that, WhatsApp, the most popular, messaging platform, which is owned by Facebook since 2014, with almost 40 crore users in India, made some changes to their terms of services. And they've said that before February 8th, if you don't agree to it or sign to it, then you would be out of the service. Now, because of a deadline date and some of the areas in which they've come up with, there has been a certain sense of concern because of, the huge popularity of the medium in India. Now, basically what they are saying is that, if you are using the services and all of your information as well as, few specific, content or basically what you are sending to the medium. Now that they are going to obviously share with Facebook or many of the other platforms within the Facebook basket, like say Instagram or Messenger, and then also the other third-party players with which Facebook operates and also. And what would happen is that whenever such a thing happens, then all these platforms would be guided by their own terms of services.
Right.
So effectively, the messaging around that gave a, or rather created a kind of a concern that, would all my information be floating around, many of my sensitive personal information, my data would go around. Secondly, it is also, around the WhatsApp payment system. They have also said that if your information and your some of the transactional and historical information, that also would be saved and passed on with whatever entity such a kind of activity is happening. So what basically comes as I wouldn't say it's a very routine thing. It's something that every software company and apps, whenever using the services, you are made to sign their terms of services. But when it coming with a particular cutoff date, and and already the concerns around how privacy has become an issue around many of the social media platforms with
Right.
regularly incidents of information floating out. And top of it, Facebook themselves being one of the big tech companies and under now a lot of scrutiny even in the country of their origin, the US. So there has been a certain kind of effort by the company as a kind of a consolidation of every of its platforms, to provide a kind of a seamless, movement of data among these platforms, and also everything taken together has created a certain concern, and that is where a lot of the users are already expressing their apprehensions, and
Sure.
that's where these changes are. It's more on the user activities that has come, less on the technical front. Of course, even they have said that even on the analytics front, they are going to pick up your login details, or from where you are logging, your locational details, and related aspects that could actually define your position and situation, and hence could also be a concern around privacy. So today, when every consumer is getting conscious around privacy and security, with such a kind of phenomena where your popularity has been built over the years, everyone has come and started using it, and one fine day you are saying that that I am going to do this, and if you don't agree to it by a certain date, then you won't be in the service. And of course, the fact remains that the ease with which encrypted messages have been going around, as well as the convenience with which you could share data, as well as text or photographs and so many things, it's a point of concern. Although WhatsApp has come and confirmed very clearly that the messages that get communicated would still go in the encrypted fashion.
So we'll come to that point a little later.
Somewhere,
yes, sure.
Some more explanation have to come in.
Right. We will certainly we will dissect this move by WhatsApp further. Let me have Mr. Brijesh Singh in the show as well. So many thanks for joining us. So let me ask you one basic question here before we move on to the nitty-gritty of this move by the WhatsApp. In terms of the data protection, what does a law says? The existing law, the provision says about data protection of the user using any social media platform, including WhatsApp.
So, we have sensitive data rules, These rules specify as to what is sensitive and personal data, what can be shared and what cannot be shared.
Right.
But if you look at the filings of Facebook and WhatsApp in Karmanya Singh Sareen case, they simply say that your laws do not apply to us. Okay. You see that they've questioned it on the grounds of jurisdiction and said that these laws are not applicable to us, and this suit is not maintainable, because Facebook has been taking data from WhatsApp not from today, but even from 2016. Here they are not changing terms to ask for other transactional information, IP information, mobile device, make and kind of mobile device, service operator, so on and so forth. So if you at all care about confidentiality or your privacy, then this is what a data processor was not intended to do. Because same things do not apply to GDPR. Now they have two different standards. They are double standards here, because these terms are not applicable to EU and UK. There they are saying that we will not share your data with Facebook or Instagram or Messenger or anybody else. But for rest of the world, they say that we'll share this data, we'll monetize, we'll make use of this data. So, there's a fine point here that our country needs to have more provisions, if not more laws, around data privacy and protection. So we are waiting for the pending PDPR bill, which is with the Parliament. Once that comes, then we will have more protection for the users. But till then, if you look at US, then US has separate act for health data. They have HIPAA. For consumer protection, they have separate laws. For children's data, they have separate laws. Here, I feel that we need, in absence of proper legal privacy regime. Though the Puttaswamy judgment talks of privacy as a fundamental right, but in reality, on ground, you need to have specific provisions that if my privacy is violated, because I had a contract with agency A. Now this, he is opening the door and bringing 10 people more, then saying that once I give the data to that company, you would be subjected to that company's privacy policy. I think this is somewhere unfair. Also, the way in which this consent is being taken appears to be a forced consent. That you either use it or delete it. So this is like I said in another show also, that there's like I've boarded a flight. Now midstream you're saying that either you accept the new terms and conditions or I'll throw you out of the flight. It doesn't work like that, because my dependency on this platform today is complete. Almost 400 million people from my country are using this. So right from your driver to your children's school, everybody is using these services. Midstream, you say that I'm going to monetize this data. I'm going to use locational information. I'm going to use transactional information. I think this is somewhere unfair, and the way in which consent is being obtained leaves no chance for the user. So if at all it's a contract between two people, then somewhere the user has to have some rights. Here there is no option being given. It's being said that either you accept it or otherwise we'll terminate the services. So somewhere I feel this is unfair.
Right. Absolutely. And that's an extremely excellent analogy as you made about like somebody enters an agreement with entity A and that opens doors for other 10 entities, sub-entities. Then, of course, your data privacy is bound to be under question. Sir, Subimal Bhattacharjee, now just continuing on the point-to-point issues about the data privacy and the chat encryption, just taking that forward. Now, how does, I know Facebook, the WhatsApp's defense would be, it's an integration and the data is safe, but if we talk of opening doors towards other firm, it may be a parent company, how does that, and of course, what are the implications of the data protection in that perspective?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very valid point. And as Mr. Brijesh Singh has very well explained, that there is a certain faith and trust with which you accept a service. And then while you are halfway and, inured to the system, you are suddenly being told that, this is what is going to change. So now you are in a quandary. You are in a certain comfort using a service and quite a bit of that. And then, you now again need to adjust to somebody else. And you are not aware to that extent what is his level of data security, what is his level of, data protection practices. So I think, this is something that really invites concerns, because, none of these guys have, have had one of the best track records. Even if you take the case of Facebook, the Cambridge Analytica incidents are still fresh in everyone's mind. And then even if you look at many of the third parties where such data goes out from your WhatsApp platform, then where in the world you as a consumer have so much of time and resources to be doing a due diligence about what is the data protection possibility for each of these features. So I think this is somewhere that a certain level of discretion has to be exercised even by the government, in trying to find from them that, where this stands, because India is someone with, more than 40 crore users. It's one-fourth of their own users of the WhatsApp platform. You cannot suddenly decide, something overnight and try and make forcefully someone to accept or even leave it. And mind you, these concerns around data leakages are something, it is happening every day. Forget anywhere else. Even in the US, you are just seeing around the New Year until now, they're saying that, one of the incidents of hacking has taken away so many of their even own government agencies. So where are these companies in terms of their commitment to, being able to remain absolutely sacrosanctly involved in providing consumers and users the data protection? So I think that somewhere, we have to step in. Yes, we have the personal data protection bill, which is now going through the select committee of parliament under Meenakshi Lekhi, and we need to get the bill in place. But even with the existing provisions within the IT Act and the rules therein, we are, definitely in a position to question Facebook or WhatsApp or all of that under the basket about how the whole system works. Because at the end of the day, a user in the country has to feel comfortable and cannot be taken for a ride just because someone else would cite the laws of Southern California or somewhere else, to be providing the service and, getting into and collecting every bit of information and passing it, wherever it feels like.
Well, that's really important point, Subimalji, that you have emphasized. We'll come back to you, Subimal, and we'll talk further about the privacy issue. Now, Mr. Brijesh Singh, talking of the police investigation, or for that matter, criminal cases concerning the breach of data privacy, what kind of modus operandi we have come to see in those cases?
See, if you look at all kinds of cybercrime, almost 3/4 of the cybercrime start with either a phishing or a social engineering attack.
Right.
And be it, child sexual abuse or terrorist radicalization or financial crime or disturbance of law and order using fake news or any narratives, it actually starts with these platforms, messengers and social media. And I think that they have not done enough to control this. Because, you started with saying that we are a kind of public square where everybody has freedom of speech, but then it does not give a carte blanche to everybody to abuse this platform and directly reach their victims and become perpetrators of crime. See, this all started with Section 230C of Communications Decency Act of the USA, which basically gave these intermediaries safe harbor. In India also we have safe harbor provisions about user-generated content. But hiding behind this, it cannot be allowed that these platforms become a breeding ground of crime where victims are approached. And when you go to these platforms and ask for data, then they then fall back upon letter-rogatory and MLATs, and then they ask you to come through legal procedure, which becomes very difficult. So today, when I approach these platforms, they say that your country's sovereignty is subject to my company policies, which is a great anomaly. Big tech operates in a way in which they feel that countries' laws are not applicable to them. And somewhere we face great difficulties in obtaining evidence. Coupled with this is the going dark problem, in the sense that there are encrypted messengers, there are closed groups where nobody has access to. Okay. Data is end-to-end encrypted. Encryption is a good thing. Encryption is used for secrecy. Encryption is used for security by banks, by militaries, by enforcement. Governments use them. But it's not just the question of the tool. It's what use the tool is put to. So here, if encryption is being used to perpetrate crime, then it becomes very difficult to obtain evidence. Metadata may be obtained, that too. It is very difficult to approach these platforms and get data which is useful for investigation of crimes. And at the same time, you see that these people are sharing a plethora of information for commercial purposes. They say that I'll share your mobile number, I'll share your login name, I'll share your IP address, I'll share your device, make, model, I'll share any transactions that you are doing on my platform, so on and so forth. So while you see that when it comes to monetization or when it comes to IP protection, these people are applying laws in a different way. In jurisdictions where there are strong laws like EU, they dare not share this information. They are saying that we are not, rolling out this policy in EU and UK.
Absolutely.
And we will not share WhatsApp data with FB and Insta and other people. But here in this country, they are saying that we are going to share this data. And when law enforcement goes to ask for this data, they they say that we are unable to share this data, and in a way create some kind of difficulty in investigation. So this is an anomaly which needs to be corrected. Rajat?
Right. That's extremely important point. Subimal, that brings to us to another query here. Now, at one point, we have seen a far greater discrepancy, or to say dichotomy, in the approach of WhatsApp's new policy. They are exempting the European Union countries, as cited by Mr. Brijesh, saying that those countries have very strict laws for data privacy. And here, in other countries, it's binding on the user to sign up for these policy. Otherwise, I mean, after a certain date, you won't be able to access the app. And when it comes to the prosecution, or for that matter, when it comes to the legality of object, these companies says the law is not binding. So, what is the way forward? How do we then say counter this data breach, or to say at least apprehension of data security?
See, the dichotomy spreads even further. That you are trying to sort of show a tendency of my way or the highway to a country that has 1/4 of your user base. That means that adds to your popularity. That means that adds to your business and whatever aspect of or activity you do by sharing all the data. Whereas to the EU, who have been very stringent with their any kind of rules around cybersecurity ever since I've been following that. There, with a much lesser population, with a much lesser market for them, they you try to follow them. So which brings us to a point of a severe disparity that somewhere we have to be calling the shots. I think irrespective of our own personal data protection bill becoming an act in the next session of the parliament or the following, we have to basically call these social media platforms, here in this case, of course, Facebook and all its entities, that you have to understand that we are not someone that you can be doing this kind of a discrepancy, and you have to follow whatever is possible in terms of showing a far much more equitable approach. I think Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad as minister time and again have called Facebook or any of those big tech companies whenever issues arose. Particularly it was Facebook and WhatsApp. They have always given assurances, but when it came to later implementing, I don't think that have really been up to the mark. So I would think that here when we are sitting with a scenario where they are giving deadlines to such numbers of users, they'll either be here or you can move out. And then too, even if you are deleting, unless you are, if you are only deleting on your device, then there's nothing that protects you or saves your information would still be passed on to the others. So somewhere the government of India, as it has done in the past, has to call these guys and seek their answers and make sure that there cannot be any kind of discrimination. If it has to be followed, then it has to be something global, which also brings to the point that all of the data privacy, data protection, and related aspects discussions at a global level, at a multilateral, multi-stakeholder levels, are somewhere they are never proceeding towards a kind of a scenario where one, we are able to take care of privacy issues. We are also able to take care of the security issues. Cyber security is becoming an issue almost aggravating every day. So unless and until there is certain level of stringent communication with these platforms, who have already now faced a lot of concerns and calls for taking some of the fangs out of their strength in terms of whatever they do, in terms of using the users' data. I think we also, as a nation and the country, has to take it up with these guys so as to ensure that we are treated fairly.
Right. That's very important. Just last few minutes I have, Mr. Singh. Just last minute or so, I would say. There is a clamor that okay, fine, let's delete this app, delete this app. Let's join some other app. But as Subimal pointed out, even if you delete the app, your data with the company stays. What is the way forward for privacy then?
I think somewhere people all over the world are getting more conscious about privacy. If you see a tweet by Elon Musk, the owner of Tesla, he said that people should shift to another messaging platform called Signal. So similarly, I see a lot of movement today. I'm getting continuous notifications of people shifting to other messaging platforms.
Right.
Telegram, very popular.
Telegram, and it's time that people understand privacy is important and privacy is becoming important. There would be a new business model where there would be apps which would be centered on users' privacy. They would agree to the 9 privacy principles in AP Shah committee, which talk about accountability, notice, consent, limitation of collection, limitation of use, access and corrections and safeguards, and so on and so forth. So it is time that we assert, and as Subimal is saying that, a user base of 400 million, it can assert its rights.
Absolutely.
And if they are giving us an unfair treatment in comparison to EU, then it is time that we also develop our own digital sovereignty, we develop our own apps, and it's time that the Indian startup ecosystem lives up to it, creates a good alternative like China did in 2008, 9, 10, and we tell big tech that you will have to respect the sovereignty and laws of my country, and you will have to respect the citizen of my country.
Right. Many thanks, Mr. Brijesh Singh. We have to leave it there. Many thanks, Mr. Subimal Bhattacharjee, I beg your pardon. Well, so clearly we have a database of 400 million users and that cannot be compromised. And so clearly, when it comes to privacy, it cannot be compromised with. We have seen many instances of the breach of data privacy and how it's been compromised or misused. Well, that's it in this edition of Discussion Today. Keep watching Rajat Sabha TV for more. Thank you and goodbye.